years of doing it. So don't say I'll never reach that level, but don't say how am I going to get to that level? You got to work your way up. And that's pretty much that's the process. And then you see how many people are trying to do it. So also, don't get too frustrated. It's also a luck business. Sometimes you go in an audition and you read for something and you go, there's no way I'm going to get that. I was terrible. I was terrible. And then 2 days later, yeah, Eric, they want you for that role. What? And then there's some days you walk in there like, I got that. That was so me. Just yet last night, sitting in my hotel room, I turned on the TV. I heard the promos for a new channel that I had just read for. And I was like, I thought I was going to get that. I'm better than this guy, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it was one of those things where you go, like, the things you think you're going to get, you probably are not, and the things you don't think you're going to get, those are what you end up doing. And it could be as crazy as the casting director thought when you met them that you reminded them too much of their ex-boyfriend. Right? Oh, and that reminds me of another thing that's really, if you're pursuing the full acting gamut and you want to be theater, TV, whatever, then you've got a headshot. Then you've got a picture of yourself, right? In the voiceover business, do not put your picture on your demo reel.
That makes sense.
All right?
It's obvious.
Oh, he's much too young for this. Really? So you don't think I can read? You don't think I can read as a very old man? Of course I can read as an old man. You know, like, it's about what you can do with your voice. And I see so many people, it's like, and I'm like, goofball, you know? But the other thing goes back to ex-girlfriend. Looks just like my ex-girlfriend. I'm not going to hire her. I can't work in the same room with her if I have to keep looking at that face. So don't put the picture on it. But and it's all by categories. It's you know, the theater world wants one thing from you. The commercial world wants another thing from you. The voiceover world, it has so many. You know, you've got your narration, your commercials, your cartoon. I do have a cartoon demo reel. But that's because I put together pieces from the real things that I've done to show the vast amount of the dialects and the characters that I do. But that's for a very specific audience. That's if an animation company says, can we hear what you can do? Then I've got a 2-minute reel of the wackiness. And you listen down to that and you just go, what is going on? I mean, it's all over the place, from some of the most random characters. But you want to say, well, here's a crazy Japanese voice I did, and here's Meta Knight, which Antonio Banderas, and all these things, and they're just quick snippets of this stuff, and it makes your head spin. But what you walk away from it, you go, well, he's got a lot of range. So I'm sure if we give him a character, he probably can find something in there. So that's kind of my little setup speech about the breaking in idea. I see if you guys have any questions for me. So, anybody got any?
Ideal, like first demo. What would that? It's just a.
See, now he's got a great voice. He's got a great buzzy, low register voice right there. I can tell you right now.
Thank you.
You're talking great demo in terms of what length or.
Just to show, I've been told ever since I was in 6th grade when my voice just went like this,
right.
To be in voiceovers, and I've been told I do a lot of good mimicking, and I'm just wondering, well,
but you should do promos.
Promos?
See, I would say
like an announcer.
No, I would say coming up next on TNT.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what you should be doing. You've got a buzz, and I don't think you need to even put it on. It's just the intent. You've already got I wouldn't make it a shtick. I wouldn't say I'm going to be doing a voice. I would say just. You have the chops. Now you just need to be able to take the direction and sell me on it. So I could see you doing a couple of promos on your demo reel, and that's the other thing too. Even in my agent, I have a voiceover agent, right? One person in that office handles promos. One person, and the other agent handles the commercials. The promo agent, it took a long time before the promo agent would even have me out on her auditions. Now, I work for my agent a lot. I made him a lot of money. And I was like, well, can I audition for some of the promos? Oh, well, she doesn't know if you're right for, it's this very specific, specialized thing. And finally, I think I've been with my agent for 15 years. I think after 5 years, I finally got, I want to read you on some promos. And this is my own agent, and I got into reading some of that stuff and doing some of more of the quirky things. I'll be more of who knew that, blah, 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 only on bio, or something that's kind of wry and whatever. Not the hard driving stuff, because that's a very specific thing. But you've got a nice, deep, resonant voice, and I would say that you should put some of that stuff on a reel. But you probably also could do things that were medical. Like I've got a very good friend who does a lot of the pharmaceutical ads, where they'll say, try Lunesta, help you. Those kind. It's a very trusting, authoritative voice without yelling at me. There's a presence, and you'll find that the way you can always tell how the economy is going is turn on the TV and listen to who's the voices. What are we listening to? When we have money, people yell at us with hype to spend it.
Someday.
Come on out and get a brand new car, and it's all exciting. But when we have no money, things are like,
Sympathetic.
trust in the, we value our customers. We know how to take care of you. It's all reassuring stuff because every dollar means that much more. So it's the trend. So for instance, if you specialized in doing something that was a lower register kind of trusting thing, that could be what's going on right now. But you probably could also do radio IDs. You're listening to K-Rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be something I'd throw in there too. But that's in the promo world. I don't know what kind of actor you are, what kind of direction you take, because we're just talking here now. But if you can not just do the big voice or the straight announce stuff, and you could do something that was a little bit more like the PSA that I mentioned. If you've ever listened to some of those ad council PSAs where they talk about not doing drugs and things, teen pregnancy, all of that stuff, those are great acting pieces. They're like really great little monologues. And like, okay, could you read as a young dad in a situation like that? Playing someone that's older. Your voice is older than you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You read older than you are.
Mm-hmm.
So you could play that young dad talking to your son or daughter about not doing drugs. But that's an acting piece. That would require not just the reading the copy, but making it your own. So I would say if you found a good coach, somebody who could pull that stuff out of you. See, self-directing is hard.
Yeah.
Because you play the stuff back. I know a lot of people go, oh, I hate my voice. I've got a terrible voice. I can't do voiceovers. That's the wrong thing. You might have a very cool voice. You might have a quirky voice. You might have great delivery. There's just something about the way that you speak, the cadence of your speaking that's interesting. You need to work with someone that's going to tell you that you trust, that has a good enough background to be able to, give you some worthwhile opinion. That's a great spot. You did a great job with that. This one, that's not your thing. That's not your thing. Let's not do it. And it's better to have less things that are then good than more things because you think you need to cover every base.
Okay.
Don't do that. If they want more, they'll ask for more. And that's the other thing about the length of the reel. Anything over 2 minutes, only your relatives want to hear. Nobody wants to hear that stuff. So, but I would say, did you live around here?
No, I'm from Kansas City.
Kansas City. Okay. So same thing. I mean, it's like, is that the mecca of voiceover work? No. But is there enough voiceover work going on there? Sure. I'm sure you can find radio stuff, and I'm sure you can find local ad agencies that would say, yes, we're doing stuff here. Now I know, the other side that comes into this is the unions. Now I'm in SAG and AFTRA, which are both voiceover unions. SAG mostly deals with film voiceovers, and AFTRA dealt with radio and videotape voiceovers. But now the lines are being it sort of like blends together. A lot of the animation stuff, of course, is all non-union stuff, and that's why the animation world doesn't make, if you're a huge star in the animation world, you're not necessarily making a lot of money. But if you can get union work as a voiceover actor, you make not only the session fee for doing the job the day you do it. I think the average TV commercial is probably about $350 for that first hour. Then you get residuals. And commercials run in either 8-week or 13-week cycles. So if you do, let's say you do a 13-week cycle, Every time that commercial runs for those 13 weeks, you get paid based on where it runs. Different markets pay different amounts of residuals. For example, if you do a national commercial that's running all around the country for 13 weeks, you could average anywhere from $1,500 in residuals to $30,000 in residuals.
Now, when I think of residual, I think of like a friend of mine has some kind of company or something called Fortune, and he gets, depending on how many things he sells to people, he gets a residual for every time they pay their month on their phone bill or whatever, and it's...
That's a commission.
Okay.
Right?
He calls it, they still call it a residual.
It's a residual payment. I guess it's more like a... See, this is more like... if you're the ad agency that's making the commercial, you have to file paperwork with a paymaster. And you say, I'm going to run this commercial in these markets. And then that paymaster bills the ad agency who's billing the client and says, we've used his voice in that commercial for this amount of time, you have to pay, and then you get a check from that paymaster company. They keep track of it. It's like the people that keep track of airplay, like BMI or ASCAP. When you're a musician, they give you checks when your songs are played on the radio. They keep track of that stuff. There are people that don't file that paperwork correctly, and sometimes you got to go after them. And that's why being part of a union, the strength of a union, can go after these companies and also ban those companies from ever doing work again if they don't pay the actors. The other thing is they've got to pay you within 10 working days, that first check. I mean, imagine if everybody had to pay you within 10 working days when you did something. I mean, that's great, right? But and the other thing that's really, I mean, this is the as a voice actor, the dream is to get something that's called a guarantee. Now, a guarantee is a magical thing. Guarantee works in television commercials. In TV, you can do what's called, you can hold a conflict. If I hired you to do, I used to do Planters Peanuts. I used to be the voiceover of Planters Peanuts. Not the nut, but remember when Mr. Peanut would dance around to Saturday Night and stuff like that, and all the monochromatic ads? I just did the tag. That was it, but that was my account. And they told me I wasn't allowed to do other salty snacks as long as I was the voice of Planters. Other salty snacks.
Does that count like Chex Mix?
Yeah, right. So, but what that does is, if you're going to tell me I can't work for other companies that are competitors, you need to pay me so that when I turn down that work, I'm making money. If you just say, you're the voice of Planters and I'm going to do one commercial with you and you made $300 and another couple $100 on residuals, but we're not going to run them anymore. And I've turned down 4 other jobs from other salty snacks. I'm like, man, I could have been doing Chex Mix. I could have been doing, those pretzel things. And so what they do is they pay you what's called a guarantee. And that's negotiable. And that can be thousands of dollars, or it can be like a Donald Sutherland doing Volvo. It could be like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what it is it says, I'm going to give you this much money, whether we use it or not, because we've told you you can't do competitor products. But you can make more than that. That's the base. You're going to make $5,000 a spot. That's it. Whether we run it or not, because we're holding a conflict. But that spot, when it starts running nationally, that could earn you $50,000 because we've run it so much. So that's the dream. Okay? And when you get those situations, and I've had a couple of those situations in my lifetime, thank you. But when you get to that point and they say, yeah, and they're holding a conflict and they're giving you a guarantee, you're like, man, all the grunt work that you do, that's where the payoff is. But that is very rare. That's not a normal thing, but that's something to strive for. And in the unions, they pay scale, or double scale, sometimes triple scale, depending on how much of a commodity you are. If you're the guy, let's say you're the guy in Kansas City, you're the guy. You're knocking out this stuff. You work fast. You're the guy. You go, you know what? I charge double scale. You got to pay me twice what you pay other guys, because I don't want to get overexposed that nobody wants to use me anymore.